when men feel like we are being shamed by the way the system is set up, then we have to bury that shame. So alcohol for us is not because we like the taste of ethanol on our tongues.
Yeah.
It's because we are trying to escape the shame that we feel.
Yeah.
And women don't have the tools to pull these men out.
Right.
I saw it also growing up when my dad was struggling to get a job. And my mom was trying to help her, to help him. But the more she tried, the more he pushed back.
He withdrew?
Yes, because men respond to men. And this is something that we need to figure out. Men respond to men. Let me give you a scenario. Men are special creatures. And this is how special they are. They love those above them. Yeah? And they love those below them. They fight those who are at the same level as them. So when women come to their level, they become enemies. Yeah? So that's why you find a guy is very fall in line to his boss and loves the people that are serving him. But when you try to come to his level, now that's war. And that's what this empowerment kind of thing has.
Yes, and let me be clear here. We're not talking about intrinsic value, because we're all equal.
Yes.
Let's just put that. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
But what we are emphasizing is that we're very different biologically.
Yes.
We do not think the same. We share a lot of things that are the same, but we're also very vastly different.
We are not mutually exclusive.
No.
We are interdependent rather.
Yeah.
But the way the system is right now, it pushes men to a certain direction. All right? And now the question is, like, I was watching a certain feminist who changed, and she says, look, I think we made a mistake. We've so traumatized men.
Yeah. Neutered men.
Yeah, we have. And now we need them. And the Bible foresaw it. Because Jeremiah speaks and says, there'll come a time when 7 women will go looking for 1 man. And they'll say, look, we don't need your money. We have our money. We can take care of ourselves. We just need your name. We just need your presence. We just need... Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So I think we're in that place where... And I never decoded it to mean that. But now looking back, I'm like, yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
So how do we fix it?
Yeah.
We really have to take on the role of speaking to men as men. As we said earlier, it takes men to raise men. And I think it's kind of a responsibility that we have to bear.
As men.
It's a difficult one.
Yeah.
But it's something that now that I'm sitting on this couch, I'm thinking it's something that I also have to do.
Yeah.
I come from a village here in Kiambu called Dendero. I go there and sometimes you can't even roll down your windows because you look at guys you grew up with. They've become failures in life. They've not been able to make that jump into success. Something has to be done for the men, or else we're not going to have a stable nation, a stable society, a stable families going into the future.
Yeah, I agree, because biblically speaking, God gave the man responsibility first.
Yeah.
So I think of it as a house. You lay the foundation, and I think of the man as the foundation.
Yeah.
Every other part of the house is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
But if the foundation is not stable, the house is not stable.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you've said that, because I think the good men who are there and can see things for what they are. And this is not to say that women should stop being empowered, because in some areas the situations where it's very dire, like where women are still being mistreated, and
of course.
Absolutely, that is a fact. But generally speaking, women have been empowered. But if you look at the boy child, I rarely see even organizations that push forward, like, let's educate the boy from a young age.
Yeah.
Let's take them when they're little
Yeah.
and raise them up to be good and godly men as well. And you'd find that some of these issues that, okay, cool. So in that case, now what happens to women when the man is out of order?
The women are confused. Yeah.
And critical, right?
They just become, the confusion is so rife because the confusion is so rife because you see, women, what do women need most? They need the security of direction
and protection
and not just security. They need security of direction, like we're actually moving towards a certain,
in every way, spiritually too.
Every way, spiritually, physically. So when they lose the direction and they can't feel the security of the direction, like they can't feel like we are moving towards a certain direction and there is confidence in the man that we are moving towards a certain, they become apprehensive and now they become reactive and the confusion kicks in. And then that confusion, demonstrates itself in many other forms. So it's that situation where you say, that's the impact of men not taking their positions or not being empowered to be in their right positions, is that it impacts the women in their lives, and not just their wives, sisters,
daughters,
mothers. You'll be so surprised that now my mom looks at me as somebody to offer direction. It's so automatic, like she's like, okay, you're my older son, so yes, what do we need to do here? Because that need never goes away of pointing the right way. So it's so critical. The
gosh, and then it's, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. And it's maybe also the reason why, especially with like, you're the son, right? And you also find that you're carrying now the weight of your family and other families as well. And it bears so heavy on you. And in every way, psychologically, financially, physically, emotionally. And in some instances, it actually slows you down, where you can't even start thinking about, but by God's grace, this is thank God. If it wasn't for God, this now, honestly, is there even hope?
Oh my God.
But you can't even start talking about things like generational wealth.
No. And actually, this takes us to meaningful work. There is nothing that destroys a man as the inability to find meaningful work. Do you know what is meaningful work? I remember, this is my story, when I didn't have, right before I was married and all, I didn't have stability in terms of career and whatnot. I would walk past guys in Amjengo and I would admire them. I'd be like, man, these guys, I mean, they're sweating, they're taking the stones up. I'm like, this is so meaningful. They're building something. I'd find a guy, Choma in Mahindi, and I'm like, man, this guy woke up and is doing this. So it's not actually the title doing of the job. It's that it's meaningful. When you can't find, I've seen that pain. In my career, I've hired more than 60 people. Interviews and hiring and whatnot. There is nothing as the pain of somebody who can't find meaningful work. And that's why we do have to, to even speak to Kenya as a context and say, how is our economy doing? Because if we can't produce meaningful jobs, then what's going to happen is that we are sitting on a time bomb. Most people think that the situation about drugs, illicit alcohol, is just people wanting to drink. No.
I feel like that's a symptom.
It's a symptom. Because when I can't find... Do you know how long it takes a Kenyan graduate to get their first job? On average? 10 years. You think about that. 10 years. Do you know how long it takes you in Singapore? You get immediate placement after you graduate.
Wow.
That's a big difference. And if they can't find you a job in Singapore, they pay you what you because the government says, look, we should have gotten you a job as a doctor. Now that we haven't gotten, it's no fault of your own, so we have to pay you. Yeah, awaiting your placement. So on the converse, the curse of poverty is you have to wait 10 years. Do you know, 10 years is a longer wait than how much time you took to get the education as fast.
Yeah.
How much will you remember in 10 years?
Not much.
And with a world that is changing like that,
yeah,
you're not going to be relevant. By the time you get your first job,
right,
you're not going to be relevant at all.
Yeah.
That's a serious problem.
Yeah.
And I keep going back to leadership because
Yes.
I know that.
Oh yeah, no, we're going there. We're going there. Now we're touching on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I believe the role of leaders
yeah,
is to solve these kind of complex problems.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it better than leaders. Nobody has the tools or the ability apart from leaders to be able to say, how do we create meaningful jobs for our people, for example? How do we stop corruption so that there are enough resources to even create meaningful work? I happen to be involved in governance in this country because of the spaces I sit.
Right.
And the perspective is so different. When you sit at that level and you're looking at the challenges that people have, you see the poverty, you see the pain, you see the broken systems. You're like, now I know why we are like this, and there are things that we can fix with that. So it's a whole systemic issue as well.
Right.
So the man today is not there because of their own fault. There are so many forces,
right,
that have pushed them to that corner, and it takes leadership, family leadership, church leadership, community leadership,
yeah,
government leadership, political leadership, to be able to be impactful enough to lift these men out of that hole they're in.
We spoke on the phone.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that I wanted to talk about politics,
Yes,
but not the way it's
yes,
usually done.
Yeah.
Not that I'm doing anything new here, but
yeah,
it does get tiring when you see the narrative, why aren't our leaders doing this for us? So, but what happens is that what you said, it's as if we delegate all common sense and power to the leader.
Yeah.
And without realizing, what happens is that we end up absolving ourselves from responsibility.
Yes.
You said that Jesus, when he came with a whole inverted system and culture.
Yeah.
You think that the leader is supposed to be served, but he came to serve.
Yeah.
We as a people appoint these leaders.
Yeah.
We put them in those positions to serve us.
Yeah.
But now what the rhetoric is that we put them there, and then we look at the situation at hand and all the issues, and then we start crying.
Yeah.
We can't do anything, you leaders, and we deceive ourselves into such a deep deception into thinking that we don't have any power to invoke, incite, create any change. So my question is, how is it, where does that stem from? Is it our education system?
Yeah.
I think partly it's to do with also us not wanting to be uncomfortable, what we talked about, but we'll go back there.
Yes. And I think this circles us back to also the culture question.
The footnote now.
Yes. Before we got the colonization phase and all that, we had communities.
We did.
And those communities had order. And the order was working. Right? So we had a form that worked for us. Now, even
though flawed, it still did.
It did work for us. And we did have our own civilization.
Yeah.
And this is where we were. My dad tells me that when he was growing up, you couldn't find a single mom. The system didn't allow a single mom. When you got pregnant, you had to show who made you pregnant.
Yes.
And when you show who made you pregnant, guess what? The family would annex the guy's inheritance and give it to this child. Because land was the factor of production. The biggest factor of production says, okay, so if you were supposed to get 2 acres, we're going to take half an acre, take care of this child. So whether you marry the mom or not, half of it, half an acre out of your 2 acres needs to be made available to produce. And so that acted as a deterrent.
Yeah.
So now coming back, you look at that leadership question, that situation of, okay, so we come from a place where we had communities that worked.
Yeah.
We come from a place where we had order that worked. But now we have politics that are so toxic and so foreign from our own identity that they've become vehicles of abuse.
You get exploitation.
And exploitation.
Yeah.
So Africa today is suffering from what we call kakitocracy.
What is that?
It means being led by the worst group among you, like is leadership by the worst.
Yeah. Kakitocracy.
Yes. So you're led by the worst in the group.
Yeah.
And then nothing makes it worse than that group also being kleptomaniacs. So Africa is robbed dry by her leaders. So it's kakitocracy plus kleptocracy. You end up with the worst kind of politics. So then you have a political system that makes good people stay away from it.
Yeah.
We were having a discussion around in one of the forums I am in.
Yeah.
And was saying, okay, so this group has the top CEOs in the country and leaders of all these big organizations. And we were looking at what Singapore did to select its prime minister. Took 4 years to get their prime minister.
4 years?
4 years. The guy had to go, they had a panel, so they had to take them through interviews, do background checks, do all kind of checks, go around the country, find out whether there's a complaint against this person, such that by the end of them choosing that one person, he was the only person with that level of merit. It's meritocracy.
Right.
So leadership by merit. So you can see why.
Not by race, not by color.
No.
Not by, what is this, identity politics.
It's not nepotism. Like it's not because we are associated in any way.
Not by tribe.
Not by tribe, no.
Yes.
It's by merit. That, like, we have the person that is most worthy to lead us.
And character.
Yes. You see, that is part of it.
Right.
But here, we usually get the loudest to lead us.
Yes.
We get the most, sometimes the most corrupt, sometimes the most influential in terms of whatever that influence might be. And then we have a system that keeps the people with the power, which is to vote, in a certain life situation that gives them no option. Because if you can buy a vote in Africa with bread. Anywhere in Africa, you can buy a vote with bread. That's how bad it is. So we have a system that produces the worst kind of political leadership. Now the problem is, political decisions affect you, whether you like it
or not. Yep.
So what do we do when we have good men?
Put it up, please.
What do we do when we have good men shying away from politics? It's a bad problem to have. Because
and they're complicit, by the way, doing nothing.
Yes, and it's not for no reason.
Absolutely.
It's somebody says, if I offer myself and say today I want, like even the previous election that we had, we had options, right? What did we look at? Did we look at people's character? Did we look at it? So we have a way where a process that doesn't look at the thing that really actually matters.
Yeah.
And even if we look at it, it doesn't hold weight. So that political kind of system has made us in our generation and even Generation Alpha to be apathetic in terms of the way we think about it. So we now don't care. And we don't know that the more we don't care, and you know what? We have become the most passive groups. Some of the things that pass here, if they happened anywhere in Europe, there'll be riots.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But here, we've been so betrayed by the kind of politics we have that we ended up becoming inert.
Right.
You know, I remember a story I was looking at for Turkana, where they would stay without food for so long. And they would get into a state where their body no longer alerts them that they need food. And they were saying that's the most dangerous phase. Because when you don't know that you need food, it means you can die any minute. Because your systems have been disarmed. They've been calling out for food. And now to preserve yourself, they said, okay, let's not make noise. Let's just stay. We are not going to get food. And that's the most dangerous phase. Is after the hunger, after the thirst, the next step you get where the body doesn't tell you it's hungry or it's thirsty, that is where you're near death. And that's where our generation is, where the alarm systems are off. You know, we don't hear 1 billion has been stolen and go like, what?
We're desensitized.
We're desensitized. And now, when we are desensitized like this, it means abuse can be taken to a whole lot, another level, because we will not react. So we need leadership that comes and infuses and maybe switches on the alarms.
Yeah.
And says, hey, look, guys, I think there's something that we need to do here. Makes
sense. And that's how power is now encroached on us, control.
Yeah.
Without realizing.
Yeah.
When you have the government as the determining factor of how to raise your family, what to eat, the healthcare system,
the right to grow food,
or not, what to say. Thank God in Kenya, by the way, we have freedom of speech because at the very least that actually keeps the leaders accountable. And the thing is that people don't understand how powerful that is. We spoke about the Uasin Gishu, that the community that held that leader accountable.
Oh yes.
And it was sad, but it still instilled some hope.
Yes.
Because you have this young girl
that stands up and says no.
She spoke with such boldness, though a lot of pain, but with equal boldness. And the money was refunded, and it was millions.
Yes.
So now that takes us to the next point, courage.
Yes.
So you have good people who steer away from involving themselves. Why?
I like to think about courage as confidence in action.
Yeah.
Like when you're confident enough and then you take action, that's courage. So I feel that good men or good people are not confident enough to the point of taking the action. So they're confident, they can see what's wrong, but you count the cost and you go like, I might lose too much if I go this direction.
Right.
Yeah. And that's how we are robbed of transformative leaders, because they're like, okay, going back again to the culture of Jesus, is that he says, if you want to keep your life, you have to be ready to lose it. But if you want to really keep it, you're going to lose it at the end.
So interesting. I literally have that scripture right
Oh,
there.
wow, really?
Yeah.
So it's interesting because we've built cocoons around ourselves, and we now have a culture that celebrates money, celebrates fame, celebrates views and followers, celebrates fickle things. It doesn't celebrate real strong attributes. It doesn't celebrate courage. It doesn't celebrate boldness. It doesn't celebrate uprightness. It doesn't celebrate righteousness.
Truth.
It doesn't celebrate truth. So now you have a situation where good people feel like, hey, look, is it worth it? I stand to lose too much if I do this. Because the first thing that gets attacked when a good person says, I'm going to do this, it's their truth is challenged. Their character is challenged. So we need to have a catalytic action that inspires many people. This is my belief.
Right.
That instead of looking for one hero, we need to have droves of good people.
Yeah.
There's a small book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And it says the reason why Babylon was the richest city because its citizens were rich. So if we're going to have a change, we have to have very many people who are good and who wants good for this country, so that in their spheres of influence, they can make that impact.
Right.
But we can't look for just one hero and say, who is this one person who is going to come and change our whole life?
So interesting. Isn't that also how culture, again, when the movies that we watch, we're so influenced by this individualistic culture where there's usually one hero that inspires change.
Yes.
But having courage is not the absence of fear.
Yeah.
It's not that it's like poof, now fear disappears.
Yeah.
It's walking through the fear.
Yes.
But I think even more than this is when it stops being about what will I get from this.
Yeah.
People who have inspired change, like Martin Luther King, like the Jeff Kennedy, the brothers, and Bobby.
Yeah.
I'd like to think quite a number of inspiring leaders. Like let's take Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
When he was president, he was talking about the liberation of Black people, but even more than that, trying to open people's eyes, which I truly think was divine, that all men are equal and sovereign, and now he talks about merit.
Yes.
He did not reap the fruit of his labor.
Yeah. Yeah.
He died, but his mindset was so generational that he could see that one day there will be a generation that will be free.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what impact is. It's not, okay, so I do this, flow, you will be rewarded.
Yes. And just to speak to that, men change because of probably 4 things. One, if they're in pain, they'll change. Or if they see enough, if they're exposed to enough, then maybe they're inspired enough, they're going to change. They're going to change if they have enough information. So if you don't have those ingredients together, like pain, an encounter with pain will make you change your life. That's why you find people saying, I encountered this, and that's why. Or somebody had somebody else who inspired them into an action or a change, and said, hey, after I heard this guy, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get up, and I'm gonna do something about this. Even if it's small things, you can listen to somebody and you go like, I have to change my diet.
Yes.
I have to change. So it changes the course. So if we're gonna like impact the course we are taking, we need podcasts like this that for the group that you're speaking to, or for your audience to say like, you know what, I think I've had enough. Let me get up and do something.
Right.
Or somebody's gonna meet pain that is gonna make you have to have a course correction immediately. And that's where revolutions come from. When countries are so oppressed and they've gone through so much pain until they rise up. That's the worst kind of change, because you don't know what the outcomes are going to be.
And we've seen the outcomes, like the French, let me tell you, for some reason, I've been enamored by like the French Revolution. And I really wanted to know, how did it start? The surface level explanation is that the poor people were so oppressed, and then you had the bourgeoisie and the wealthy people, but it's more than that. It is so insidious and so well crafted. And it also speaks to human nature. I think it started off with men, and you can see that in history, like repeating itself, the cycle in societies, and where the decline starts is that men, God made them prosperous in every way: economic prosperity, literature, fashion, music, even food, art. And then it reached a point where men were like, you know what, we don't need God.
We don't need God anymore.
And then that's where the rise of the golden age of pursuit of reason and enlightenment. And they were like, no, let's do away the thing that's going to impede our search is religion, traditions, and then the decline started.
Yes. And it always happens.
Always
happens the same. Because there's something, it goes back to the beginning. So the Bible says there are 2 trees in the garden. Yeah. So you have the tree of life, and then you have the tree of the knowledge
of good
and evil.
Yep.
Actually, it's the tree of the difference, of the knowledge of the difference of good and evil. So somehow, men are always attracted, or people are always attracted to the knowledge, to want to know. It seems like it's the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
But in that, we leave life. We depart from life.
Yeah.
And so we go after what's the new idea.
Yeah.
What's the new philosophy? It's that enticing thing that comes.
And it's exciting.
It's exciting, like I'm about to know something new. And look, even countries that work, going back to that leadership thing, they don't work because of all this this maybe new ideas or flashy things. It's just the mundane, repetitive, good actions that are unsexy, unnoticed,
boring.
But guess what? That's discipline. One guy told me something that I'll never forget. His name is Vimal Shah. And he talked about the God complex. That one generation gathers, then the second generation organizes.
Just one man, just Vimal Shah just spoke to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next generation organizes.
Yeah.
Then you know what? The third generation destroys. It's the same philosophy. Like hard times create
strong men. Strong men create
easy times.
Easy times create weak men.
Yes. And that's the cycle. That's it. And it's so sad because you can see it happen. Even at a family level where somebody says, I slaved to build this, but I don't know how to transfer it to the next generation.
Yeah.
Because they didn't grow in the same circumstances. I removed pain from their journey. I thought that pain was bad.
Right.
But I think for us, looking back, we need to say, no, don't remove pain for your children, because then what it will do, it will create weak people who don't have a spine for anything.
Right. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Does that also make sense? Because right now, especially now, because culture is very fickle, it creates fickle and frail identities.
Yeah.
To the point where if you disagree with someone, they feel like you're attacking them because they think that you're attacking their identity as opposed to just their opinion.
Yeah. And
they don't even know the idea of agreeing to disagree.
Yes. And we've freedom is good.
Yeah.
But too much of it.
Yeah.
It also works against you in some way.
Yes.
And I think that's where we found ourselves, where we've come from hardship. We've started making some progress. So you find our generation, they want to take their kids to the most expensive schools, the private schools. They're not going to be in the public transport. Then they're shielded from so much.
Yes.
And we want to do that because we didn't have it.
Yeah.
But in doing it, we produce people who don't know what hardship is, and they don't know how to perpetuate that success.
Yeah.
So it's going back to say, I think we have to redefine our frameworks.
Okay.
And say, fine, what framework works for me for the long haul? I think we need to start looking at things with a long-term view. Because somehow we have cultures, as you said, that just show us very short-term things. Quick. Hard work, good things take time. Good relationships take time, and that's why processes are there. We fight tradition, and we have a new culture that says, I don't care about tradition, I don't care about this. But we forget that traditions are experiments that worked. They worked, they produced something good that you're enjoying now.
Yeah. So now, practical ways that we can invoke change.
Yeah.
And change is slow. but it is change.
Yeah.
It's incremental,
yeah.
but done at a large scale. Everyone doing the part.
Yeah.
So what would you say, something practical that anyone who's watching this, even I, that can do that would incite change?
Have you ever heard the saying that says, you start off by wanting to change the world and you end up trying to save yourself?
Yeah.
You know? So we all start with that big dream.
Yeah.
You feel, I'm going to do it. Oh, man.
Then it humbles you.
It humbles you and you're like, so I think it's to bring it home.
Okay.
And I think you can start with practically rebuilding.
Okay.
Can you give yourself a challenge of building your relationships?
Okay.
Yeah, because many people are running around with broken relationships. Why don't you give yourself that task of rebuilding those relationships? And by the time you rebuild them, you'll be far much...
it goes back to the kingdom culture.
Yes.
Pouring out and giving.
Yes. So rebuild partner relationships, rebuild family relationships. You know, cultivate that courage to go back to your mother or your father if they're there and resolve issues. You'll be amazed how much that impacts your life now, because there are things you can't do anything about. We were laughing with my wife the other day that, you know, after all these organizations and donor funding and all that, we're still fighting the same things. Like, it looks like the needle has not moved at all, you know? So the thing is, we will not solve all our problems. We'll probably not eradicate poverty. We'll probably not eradicate corruption. But there's something we can do now. There's something I can do as me. So can you look at that and say, how can I change me?
So start home.
Yeah, start at home. Start with yourself. Start with what is within reach. Now, to also recognize that anything that you want that you don't already have is outside your comfort zone.
Oh, now that brings me to the point which you said. We're not called in this life to be comfortable.
No. And that's the truth we need to tell this generation. Hey, people, life is not about comfort.
You're speaking to me.
Yeah. Stop looking for comfort.
Yeah. Thinking
that it will deliver something from you. Ask yourself this. How come the richest people are still working? They already have the thing you think you want. How come they're not at home lounging? What makes them get up every day? If comfort was what the end goal was, there'd be people there saying, hey, you know, we already made it to the zenith.
Yeah.
You guys keep coming up.
Yeah.
And we'll be seeing them.
Yeah.
But we see them taking on more complex roles because life is about purpose. It's not about comfort. And I think that's something we need to tell children. We need to tell each other that, look, it's not about getting the house that will make you the safest and getting the car that will never break down and getting residual income.
Or clothes.
Yes. And do the easiest jobs, like clicking the computer for dollars.
Yes.
You know, we actually need to know that it's more complex than that. And so that's I think is an important thing for us to regurgitate over and over and say, life is not about comfort. It's about purpose.
John?
Yeah?
You've been amazing. That is episode 16, guys.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The time just runs.
I told you.
Fast.
What did I tell you?
I feel like we've just begun.
1 hour, 38 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I wish it was longer.
I know. No, I mean, that just means that you have to come back.
Oh man, I've enjoyed it.
Yes.
I think you're a great conversationalist.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it just keeps pouring out and pouring out.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope you give us a review and tell us what you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, call us out on our untruths as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Let's talk in the comments. Man, you've been amazing.
Thank you.
You made it very easy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Actually, you made it very easy for me to speak the way I just did today.
Thank you.
So please come back.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, I know you'll pay me to come back, so yes. I'll give you some time
Appearance
to
fee.
be.
Alrighty, watch next episode.
Yes, episode 16.
Nah, this next episode.
Oh man, which one is this?
This one.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh man.